Collaboration isn't always easy. On one hand, you have different people, which means there are different perspectives and personalities, and sometimes that can result in tension and disagreements. But on the other hand, if you get along too well, your meetings result in just a bunch of talking and distractions, and you don't get anything done. So in today's video, I'm going to share my top 5 tips for improving your collaboration. Plus, I'm going to share a free collaborative planning template, so make sure you watch all the way till the end. Now, maybe you have recently switched schools or districts or even just grade levels, or maybe you're welcoming new team members onto a team that you've been a part of for a while, or maybe you're working with the same teachers you've been working with. Either way, this video is going to help you have more productive collaborative planning sessions.
Productivity is important, but how can I be productive?
We're going to kick it off with tip number 1, which is be prepared. This is especially relevant if you are coming into a new school or district. You want to have a list of questions ready to go that you can ask your team teachers. That way you can make the most of any planning time or collaborative planning sessions prior to the start of the school year. Now, you may be thinking, but I don't know what I don't know, right? Like, I don't even know what questions I'm supposed to ask.
There will be no questions. Are there any questions?
I've got you. I actually have a set of free questions to ask your school. It includes both a printable PDF, but also an editable Google Doc, which I want to show you. So within this Google Doc, you will notice it's broken into categories. So there are questions related to the district and school, questions related to procedures, the schedule, lesson planning and curriculum, grading and assessment, classroom and supplies. Yeah, it's a lengthy document, y'all. Communication and miscellaneous. Now, this Google Doc is fully editable, so you can go in, change any of the titles, reword any of the questions, delete questions you don't need, or add additional questions you think of. Plus, there are check boxes. So as you ask the questions and you get your answer, you can check them off. And you could even add a note underneath with what the answer was. So if I click here, hit enter and tab, I can then type the answer here. That way I have something to reference later. If you are interested in grabbing this freebie, I will be sure to link it for you down in the description box. But I remember actually using this document myself when I switched from 2nd grade to 4th grade. Even though it was my 4th year of teaching, I had to learn about how my new school and district did different things. So when I met my team teachers for the first time, we went to Panera. I remember walking in, they probably thought I was crazy, but I had a little clipboard with these printed questions ready to go to ask them. And it just made the meeting a lot less awkward. You know, when you're meeting people for the first time and you're like, I don't know what to talk about. This gives you something to talk about. Let's give them some. No, I'll spare you.
Let's give them something to talk about.
Now, even if you are not brand new to a school or district, maybe you're a veteran teacher, I think this list is still great if you have new team members coming to you, whether they're brand new teachers, they're coming from another district, or they're just moving grade levels. It gives you a reference list of things that you make sure you cover, because what you do in 2nd grade might be very different than what you do in 4th grade. So having this list just gives you confidence going into the meetings, making sure nothing is falling through the cracks. Tip number 2 is to keep an open mind. You have to look at collaborative planning sessions as an opportunity to learn and grow. Your way may not be the best way, and especially if you've been teaching for a while, you tend to favor certain ideas and strategies that you're very comfortable with, and sometimes it's difficult to step outside of that comfort zone and embrace new ideas. I remember when I switched from 2nd grade to 4th grade, I already had it in my head that I was going to use a classroom economy system with my students. They would earn money for doing various tasks or participating and whatnot, and then they would get to spend that money, that classroom currency, on various prizes. However, when I had my first phone call with my new team lead for 4th grade, she informed me that my school already had a school-wide behavior management system in place. And I remember at the time I was like, oh, but I really want to do it my way. After embracing that new system, I realized it was a very similar concept, but it was so much easier because I was going to have to print all these little fake dollar bills, which, kind of sounded like fun. But over time, it would get monotonous. Whereas this new system, each student just had a card. I would stamp it, and then they could cash those in for various prizes. So in the long run, it ended up being a better option. So it may feel uncomfortable, but a lot of times the best learning and growth comes out of those situations.
Watch and learn.
So find that happy medium, be willing to give and take, try new ideas, but ultimately, if you do things a little bit differently than the rest of your team, that's okay too. We're all different. We're not expected to be these carbon copies of each other, but be willing to embrace some new ideas. Tip number 3 is to learn about your new teammates. Working with someone becomes so much easier when you know them well. And even if you've been working on the same team for a while, it's possible to work alongside someone for a very long time, but not actually know them. As teachers, we know how important it is to get to know our students on a personal level, but we don't always apply that same philosophy to our coworkers. Ultimately, everyone wants the same thing. They want to feel understood, important, and accepted for exactly who they are. So a few very simple ways to do that. Make sure you learn how to say their name correctly.
What's our receptionist's name?
Make eye contact with them when you're talking to them. Don't be staring at your screen or your phone. I know you're busy, but those little connections truly do make a huge difference. Take time to ask them questions and then actually listen to their responses. Make notes of the things they like and dislike in their various interests. And then as you get to know them better, invite them to join you for an activity, whether it's just eating lunch together or attending an after-school event or doing something outside of school. It can also be as simple as just offering to help them with a task. Now, I have another freebie that can help you out with this. I have actually created a free teacher favorite survey. Now, this survey was designed for parents to give to their child's teacher in order to get to know their teacher, but you could use this same survey with coworkers as well. Once again, this freebie comes with a few different options. There is a printable PDF ready to go. There also is a digital Google form. That way you could send it electronically. Everyone loves to have an electronic form versus a paper one, just saying. But I do have an editable Google Slides as well, so you can go in and customize it. Here's what that looks like. It's very basic. You get their name, their birthday, and once you find their birthday, put it in your calendar so you don't forget. Some of their favorite things, like their favorite snack or flower or candy, some of their preference. That way, if you want to leave them a little treat on a random Monday or leading up to a holiday, you have an idea of what they would like. And then finally, just some other things like what's on their wish list, if they have any allergies or aversions, or if there's anything else you should know. You could even pitch this as an idea to your administration. You could have every teacher in the school fill out this survey, and then you could keep them in a binder in the front office. That way, any teachers in the building can go learn about the other teachers in order to better know them, and it just helps build that school community as well. Tip number 4 is to speak up. Especially if you are a new teacher, but even if you're coming on to a new team, it can feel very intimidating to share your ideas. I remember when I was a first-year teacher, I knew nothing, so that's probably why I was intimidated, but basically the entire first year, I would go to collaborative planning sessions and just sit there like a lump on a pickle, not contributing anything because I was too scared to speak up. I felt like my ideas weren't valuable. And even though I didn't have as much experience, I still had good ideas.
I'm filled with good ideas.
And the truth is, never speaking up can come across as if you're not contributing, and that can lead to more tension between teammates because no one likes to feel like they're carrying the team. They want to feel like everyone is balanced and adding to it. So have confidence that your ideas are valuable and deserve to be shared, but also don't become too attached to them. I remember when I switched from 2nd grade to 4th grade, I had experience as a teacher and I knew my ideas were valuable, but I was also brand new to upper elementary and there was a lot I didn't know. And it was easiest for me to start by contributing ideas that had to do with just kind of the whole grade level. So events that we would do or little tips and tricks of ways students could stay organized, things that I was confident in. Whereas when I would go to my math planning meetings, I didn't contribute a whole lot because honestly, there was a lot I did not know about teaching 4th grade math. So I was more of a sponge in those moments. But during the whole grade level collaborative planning meetings, I was more open to sharing just little ideas, and I was okay if they got shot down. You know, I didn't think they were the best idea in the world, but I wanted to feel like I was at least contributing something. So in summary, share your ideas, be willing to adapt them to fit the new team, but also be willing for them to be completely shot down because that could happen, and that's okay. At least you tried. If this is hard for you, just remind yourself, what's the worst that could happen? If you share an idea and they go, no, we're not gonna do it, you go, okay. I mean, the world is not going to end. You might feel a little bit embarrassed, but you'll get over it. And finally, tip number 5 is to have a plan. The best collaboration happens when there is a structure. So having a template can help guide the meeting. Personally, I really like a 2-for-1 deal. I like to have a template that can be used both as an agenda to send out before the meeting even starts to give all the team members an idea of what the plan is, but then also used to capture notes during the meeting. So at the beginning of the video, I mentioned I had a new freebie for you, and I was telling the truth. I have a collaborative planning agenda template. It is an editable Google Doc, so you can change any of the text, you can customize it to fit your needs, but I put some basic categories in there just to get your brain flowing. And I really had grade level team meetings in mind when I created this. You might have to adapt it for different subject areas, but personally, I always use just my regular lesson planner for those. I really like to have this template for those grade level meetings where we're talking about upcoming events and trying to plan things out as a team. So here's just an example of what that collaborative planning agenda could look like. Up at the top, you just have the date, the time, the team, the focus for the meeting, which you may not need depending. Like if you meet every week, your focus is you're meeting every week in order to hash things out. And then a list of the team members. I always like to have meeting norms. I think it's just a good reminder at the beginning of the meeting and sets the right tone. Then you might have some reminders. Maybe these are things passed down from administration or recent committee meetings. Then you might review upcoming events and important dates. With my team teachers, we would always put any dates we knew we were going to be out. So if I were taking a personal day, I would add that to the collaborative planning agenda. That way my team teachers were aware that we would be having a substitute in the grade level. You also might put down events within the school or grade level. You might have an idea of upcoming lessons. In 4th grade, we were departmentalized. So we had some teachers teaching typically math, science, and social studies. It changed like every single year. And then we would also have teachers for ELA. And it was nice to communicate back and forth what we were working on so we could try to, collaborate together within the different subject areas. You might have a section for shout outs and celebrations, and this could be not only for the teachers on the team, but maybe other staff members, and you could share this out with them afterward to share that shout out. But you could also put student shout outs on there, and maybe I wouldn't even teach a specific student, but if another teacher told me they did something great, then I can make sure that I praise them the next time that I see them in the hallway. You might have a section about concerns, and this could be curriculum concerns, academic concerns, behavior concerns, questions that you have, and I do have a separate section for questions. Maybe this is something you have to ask a special area teacher, like, hey, what are they working on in art next week? Or maybe it's a question for administration or guidance, like, hey, could you come do a lesson in my class on this topic? And then finally, kind of setting the plan for the next meeting and what's going to be covered. Now, personally, when I was the 4th grade team lead, I would actually set this agenda up at the end of the prior meeting. So as soon as we said goodbye, the teachers all left my room, I would make a copy of this Google Doc, delete the things that were no longer relevant, so maybe dates that had passed or questions we had gotten answered, and then I would go ahead and send it out to all of the team teachers. So I would just use the share button, and they were responsible for adding to the agenda as well. So if something came up throughout the week and they're like, oh yeah, I want to discuss that during collaborative planning, they already had the agenda a week in advance and they could go in and add to it. That way, it was less on my plate because I wasn't trying to run the entire meeting on my own or trying to fill out the entire agenda, but it also made them feel more in control as well. Then on the day when we were actually meeting, we would open up that same agenda, we would go through it piece by piece, add in some notes, and then we would share it out with administration, maybe special area teachers, guidance counselors, whoever else needed to see it at the end of the meeting. That way they had a recap of what we talked about. And what's great about Google Docs is you can also mention people by adding a comment. So really quick, just to show you how to do that. So if I go to this question section and maybe I need to tag administration to get them to answer this question, I'm just gonna triple click in order to highlight it, and I can come over to the side and add a comment. Then I can add others by using the @ sign. So I could put @ and then start to type their name or email, and then they would receive an email saying, hey, you were tagged in this Google Doc, and it would bring their attention to it, and they would know to go in and type in an answer. Now, like I said, I have this as a free template for you, and it is completely editable, so you can customize it to fit your needs. The link for that will be down in the description box, along with the link to the free teacher favorite survey and the free questions to ask your school. Now, just to wrap it up, you can follow all of these tips, and you can be one of the best collaborators in the world, and there will still be times when conflict arises. It's just human nature.
What do you know about conflict resolution?
When that happens, make sure you don't take it personally and you try to get down to the root of the problem. It could be that there are just different perspectives on the situation and you need to find some sort of compromise, but there might be a bigger issue that's kind of hidden underneath. So dig deep, find the root of the problem, and then try to solve that problem so it doesn't happen again in the future. But if this video gave you some new ideas and you're excited about the freebies, please share this out with your teacher friends. Go ahead and hit the thumbs up, the subscribe button, and the notification bell so you don't miss any future videos. As always, thank you for watching. I love you so much. Don't forget to put your positive pants on, and I will catch you in the next one.